How the devil are you? Good to see you, a bit later than normal. Happy VE Day. There's only one time to wear this, really, isn't it? Happy VE Day. And if you don't know what Happy VE Day means, it's the end of the World War II, 75 years ago in Europe. Today is the day that we celebrate that. And I think many people are mourning the fact that they were meant to be having street parties and they were meant to be having sort of, huge celebrations and great excitement, or, whatever. Maybe it wasn't something that was on your radar and you weren't going to celebrate it. But I know lots and lots of people. I am speaking to parents who have got teenagers that were meant to be having their birthdays, and lockdown birthdays have all changed, and birthday celebrations are very different at the minute. People have had their weddings cancelled or postponed, and it's just a different way of operating, and lots of people are just a bit sort of, feeling a bit down because what they had planned were many sort of celebrations. We were going to have my mum's 80th in April, and many celebrations that were meant to be going on sort of now, that were months in the planning, have been sort of shelved for a while. And it is upsetting, and it is, it does annoy some of us, and we should be out of this, and and we are missing out on all the fun. And then you remember what VE Day represents. And then we remember, when we look back at everything that Captain Colonel Tom represents, that the fact that we are stuck at home, in the luxury of our home, we're not being bombed by anyone, we're not sort of picking ourselves out of any rubble, though some people say, yes, there is the proverbial rubble, but we are not really, and I hand on heart, I acknowledge that there are many people that are struggling. But we do, and there are many people who are bereaved, and I acknowledge those people. But for those who have not experienced bereavement just recently, and for those people who are just, let's face it, pissed off with being stuck at home, I think we need to maintain a degree of perspective here. And I think we need to realise that we are safe, and that we could be in a lot worse situation. And a lot of this is sorting out our own mindset. A lot of this is working out, well, yeah, I'm not sort of celebrating parties and having a happy time, and we've got our bunting out, but we're all standing on our sort of our doorsteps rather than having a street party. And yes, it is disappointing, but those sort of things aren't life and death, are they? And I think it's a matter of having a degree of gratitude. Gratitude is a great way of getting us back into a can-do and a more positive mindset. And so if you're feeling a bit low, and I'm not saying, I'm talking about feeling a bit low. If you're feeling, if you're just sort of feeling a bit out of sort, then practice gratitude. Now, if you are feeling suicidal, and if your mental health is really struggling or suffering, and, if you are bereaved and going through the grief process, you need to reach out to people that will give you the support, the more structured and qualified support that you need. I totally get that. But if you are just struggling and having, a bad day, then it's up to us to take responsibility and do something about it. And we can do something about it. And we know that this soon will end. Those people that were fighting in world wars didn't have that sort of that luxury of realizing, of just like we are, sitting at home and biding our time. And so the gratitude today, or the celebration today, I feel, is being grateful for those people that have made and are making sacrifices on our behalf. Whether or not it was 80, 75 years ago, where people were fighting for our freedom, to whether or not it is today, celebrating those people who are fighting for our health, who are supporting us and trying their damnedest to keep us as a nation as healthy as possible, whether or not it's NHS, whether or not it's people delivering emergency supplies, whether or not it's the people keeping our sort of food stocks food shelves stocked. It is. We have that cause for celebration and for gratitude for other people that are supporting us whilst we lounge around at home waiting to be let out again. And if you are struggling with your mental health, if you are finding this really, really hard, I do not want to belittle that. But what I do feel is that if you are grateful, if you are able to put things into perspective, it is harder to start feeling sorry for yourself. It is harder to, sort of make your life appear terrible and and as bad as you think it is. If we are able to show gratitude, show appreciation, and get things into perspective. Yeah, okay, so we've missed out on a party. Yeah, okay, 'cause your wedding is going to be delayed a bit. And it might, for those people going through it, it might, you might be saying, oh, well, Kai, who the hell do you think you are? Well, yeah, I get it. But it is important to keep the bigger picture here, because there are people that are suffering, there are people that are struggling, there are people on ventilators, there are all those national health people that are busting a gut and doing long shifts to keep us safe. There are people like Colonel Tom who are walking and raising tens of millions of pounds. Everyone's doing their bit. And if we are taken back to remembering about the war effort, what bit are you doing? Because and I don't mean that in a glib way, because they do say that if you are struggling, voluntary work, when we are start thinking about other people, is a great way of just putting things back into perspective, making us realise that actually there are plenty of people worse off than us. And for many of us, for the majority of us, this is just a minor inconvenience. So think about how you can help others, because there's a hell of a lot of people doing that already. Whether or not you're making scrubs, whether or not you are delivering for, collecting stuff for elderly, sort of, in your area, whatever it is. I think when we have that sense of being able to contribute, it gives us that sense of community that many of us are missing. Many of us feel as though we're missing out on that. So let's have a think about what we can do to make someone else's life a little bit better. How can we help other people? By giving our time, by donating, by lots of other things. What can you do to alleviate someone else's sadness or misery or whatever? There are people that are doing free stuff on the internet. There are people that are, making stuff for free. We're all in this together a bit. And now, today, more than ever, as we are celebrating VE Day, that's 75 years since the end of World War II in Europe, it's a great way of remembering how can we give back? How can we appreciate those who are helping and just making their own sacrifices? So have a think about that, because when we start giving back, it makes us realise how very, very blessed and abundant we are, in fairness. So sending you very much love, and I shall speak to you soon. Bye-bye.